position yourself in some stupid or silly manner, and you take a photograph and you publish it on a site just to show how good or how brave or, I mean, how stupid you are. That's my impression of it. So this particular person who tried to do that on his balcony, he slipped and he fell to his death. So this is not the internet per se, but the internet is being used as a medium to portray these type of things. I'm sure you have all received an email from Dr. something or other, or from Africa or the Middle East these days, or even India. I've been getting a few from India now, with what's happened in Tamil Nadu and the lady being in jail. So, and they're so kind as to say, I've got 9 million, 10 million, 50 million, and if you just help me out a little bit, I'll share the money with you. Now, if you have actually clicked on that and replied to that, I mean, that's a really foolish thing to do. The other thing that people get quite often, and I actually received one yesterday, you have won $900,000. Please provide me with these details. The lottery number you were allocated was this. But hang on, I never entered the lottery. A lottery, by the definition, one needs to enter, right? If I've never bought a ticket to a lottery, how can I win? But yet, my friends in law enforcement tell me that even to this day, Nigerian scams, lottery scams, they're still being portrayed, people are still falling for it, and they're still either giving up sums of money or going to the extent of going to visit and interface with these people. In Nigeria, for instance, people have actually been kidnapped and murdered on this pretext, because you go to Nigeria, they kidnap you, hold you, ransom. If your family can't pay, basically they kill you, in some cases. So, falling for something like that is really foolish. Now, and how many people have bagfuls of $9 million sitting at home that they're willing to share with you? It's not going to happen. There's also a somewhat more perverse or darker side to foolish behavior. This happened in Hong Kong a couple of years ago. A gentleman by the name of Edison Chen, who was a popular local celebrity, an actor, had some pictures in some compromising positions with some of his lady friends. From what I understand, he sent his computers for repair. Perhaps one of the technicians saw the images, downloaded it, and published it on the internet. His lady friends happened to be as well celebrities in the local community, so there was a big scandal that erupted over there. So this is just one example I could find in the public domain that I could put up. But this does not extend to celebrities, but our kids are doing that too now. Okay. When we talk about pornography and how we need to stop pornography, but what do you do when the child itself is creating that pornography? When they are taking pictures of themselves in compromising positions or in compromising situations, and they're sharing that. They've done it themselves. They've done it with consent, their own consent. So that starts to complicate things quite a lot. So really, and we've had the other speakers talk about education and awareness in other fields. That's what we need here too. It's about education and awareness. There's no magic button to fix this. There's no magic switch we can hit and it's going to solve all these problems. Education is the only real key. So cyber safety is a very widely debated topic, and obviously it has got a very emotional aspect to it, for those very reasons I said before. But the question is, how different is it really from challenges in the real world? In most instances, online challenges are an extension of the offline and real world. What's happening offline is also happening online, just the medium has changed. Now, if you look at the younger generation, for most young people who are connected, there's no real difference between online and offline behavior. We of the generations past, we had demarcated zones of how we interacted within our peers, our colleagues, our elders, friends. We had this compartmentalized view of the world. Today, younger kids really don't have that because they're so technology savvy, they're so connected all the time that there really is no differentiation between what they do in their private time and what they do in their professional or public time. I don't know, one thing I get quite often, so, and some of you I have you as contacts on Twitter feeds. I really like you guys and all that, but I don't really want to know what you had for dinner, that you meeting a friend 10 years later and then you cooked a dish and it got burnt and then you had to throw that away and cook something else. Great information, but absolutely useless to me, man. So, and that's what's happening now. People are posting, updating everything, just about everything about their lives. And with the way these feed things work nowadays, and I was foolish enough to do that and actually to find some time to sit down and reverse all this. So if I post something on Twitter, it goes to my Facebook, it goes to my LinkedIn, and a few other things. So I'm not just publishing to one channel. I'm doing a multi-channel publication just by doing one status update. So imagine the amount of collateral that is being collected about me out there. 15 years from now, when I run for the Prime Minister of Australia, I could be in trouble. What's that? But I do promise you that if I do run, my hairstyle will remain the same. That is my commitment to you now. Skeeve. So what's different about being online? Someone mentioned, I think perhaps maybe Charles mentioned this before, about the dog cartoon. What it says at the bottom, if you can't read that, it says, on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog. Now, this was published in the New Yorker on July 5th, 1993. That's 18 years ago. Now, contemplate, is that still relevant today? Yes, it is. We said that the internet evolves and grows and is very dynamic, but that thing has still remained the same 18 years later. And I put it to you that 18 years from now, it will still be the same issue. Now, compared to the traditional sense, what's different from being online? Number one, there's no inhibition. People are less shy online. They're more happy to share because they don't have that physical interaction. Once you see someone face to face, it's different in how you behave. The other thing that's very important to take note of is that there's lack of face-to-face feedback. Okay? So if you're talking to someone, let's say on Skype, you don't know what the expressions on their face are. Right? All you hear is a voice. Sometimes it's maybe a bit distorted if your connection is not very good. You don't really get the tonal expressions because the frequency of signals you get on that line are not what normal human speech is, right? It's filtered out, it's contracted. You don't see the body language. I'm here sitting talking to you. This is being webcast. All they see is my face on the slide. They don't see me doing this, and all that, right? So there is that issue of that. When you're talking to someone face to face, there's so much more information that you're able to process by looking at a person and interacting with them. In an electronic medium, we don't really get that. And there can be issues on what we call lost in translation, particularly if we're talking across cultures or across languages. Now, English is my third language. I speak it reasonably well, but if English is not your first language and you don't speak it that well, trying to communicate to someone with someone else whose language is also not English, it can become a bit of an issue. So now that's why I say it's a lost in translation issue. You say something, but you actually mean something else, and it's interpreted as something completely different by the person. And being in an online medium, it makes it even worse. There's a false sense of security. You go to a website, it asks for you some personal details. You say, yeah, that's fine. I live in this city. My date of birth is so-and-so. I grew up in this locality. This is my school. This is my email address. And this is my first name and last name. But that's a whole lot of information. Just with that, you can harvest so much more about a person online. The other thing, of course, is online taboo topics are much easier to discuss. Because that inhibitions go away. Because you don't have a face that you're going to be responding to. It's all text-based. You're typing away or you're sending messages. And you don't really have that shame and shyness and embarrassment issues around it. And of course, ultimately, all are equal on the internet. A text message is a text message. If you are Bob Smith, or if you are Skeeve Stevens, or if you are Gyan Diaz, that's just it. You're just a name, right? So here are some parting thoughts. Please keep in mind that technology is just a vehicle. Okay? It is not what's creating the crime. It is not that's perpetrating the crime. It's just a vehicle for someone else to do that. It's humans who commit crimes, not technology. Bullying is bullying. Abuse is abuse. Being foolish is being foolish, and a crime is still a crime. There's a need for us to better relate and understand children's online behavior. The internet has provided us with some great opportunities for learning, collaboration, communication, advocacy, building focus groups, bringing about peace in times of conflict, and so on. What we need to do is to realize, understand, and mitigate the risks that are associated with it. Just like with anything else in life, there's always a risk. You walk out onto the street, a bus could hit you. You're dead. Okay, so same thing. And ultimately, education and understanding what's out there is the key to success. and how we're going to solve all this. There really is no other answer. It's education, awareness. Talk to your peers, talk to your kids, your nephews and nieces and people around you. That's the only way we'll get this message across. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention. I hope I kept it relatively short, Madam Chair. And don't ask me something hard.
I'm only, this is more than a question. I'm going to give you a session based on what I have listened today, and I think yours was, there are a lot in that what we got to learn. I feel that we're missing something here, is that we should include in the next, this one is the physical part of it. You say the child, you know, probably father knows that he's using only 19%, whereas he's actually using 53% as per your data. So where did he use them?
Sorry, say it again?
Where did he use the rest of the 30 odd percent? Where did he use? Outside or some place or other?
Right.
You know, so we just have to have a session where the physical part of it, of the internet. Internet for all, I don't go and say, okay, grandpa, grandma, you can use, grandson, everybody can use it, it's free for all. Yes, it's free for all, but it has to be, you know, we should have a session where you have the physical security part of it. We saw the, you know, the pen drives been lost, servers been, it's not only in Hong Kong, even here we had a security issue where the server motherboard was taken off by the guy who was leaving. And the IT guy, he was not promised and given a salary of that, you know, so he just lifted it. So the physical security aspect, plus the social and cultural, not on the internet, but social and cultural aspect in the homes, where we lose. If you start, I did a study myself by putting in a keylogger on about 15 laptops. Then I really understood that what they are really doing, you know, and you have to guide them, because on their own, they do things that they don't really, you know, understand. It's their, you know, it just drags them. You know, the mind just drags them. So when if you put a keylogger and find out even, you know, an older person or a younger person, all the same. So we need to have some physical security aspects of the internet. How, you know, we just 24 hours a day we are on the internet, and we don't know what happened to our parents, our children, everybody. We don't have time for them. We don't have time for, we just eat while we are having on the laptop. So we need to cover a subject which will, you know, give the physical aspects that, you know, that we should cover. So I think in your next agenda, you should have that as a separate item.
Sure, okay, and I'm sure Harsh and Gyan will look into that for sure. It's a good suggestion, thank you, sir. And as you were speaking, I just realized there's one other component when you talked about kids doing things online. You know, there's also a big peer pressure component. You know, your friends do it, so you need to do it too. So that's also something I think that was missing from my slides.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. Question about, are there any ISOC programs on developing training material or guidelines for these kind of aspects, especially child abuse online, and is ISOC doing anything in this area?
Okay, so because the issue itself actually falls in multiple fields of our work, so this is something we've been grappling with for a while on how do we actually handle this. So one of the major strategic initiatives we have is called Trust and Identity. And a lot of the work, although it's actually not directly about how to stop child abuse, but it discusses some of the issues around cybersecurity, safety online, and so on. So we're currently trying to work out how we can apply that as a big picture thing. So what I think you'll see from us in the next couple of months, perhaps, is a lot more information coming out on that, some perhaps position papers or white papers, and some thoughts on how we tackle those sort of issues. The trust and identity part of it, we've been doing significant work, and I think very soon you should be able to see some new documents being released by the Internet Society. One of them is actually in your conference packs. It talks about an identity overview. So we're trying to develop that a bit further and see how we apply it to these various different circumstances, and how can we secure the internet from a very large picture perspective as opposed to a very niche perspective.